Liza Antoinette Gonzalez, whom we fondly call Ma'am Chet or Dr. Chet, is a past president of the Philippine Foundation for Vaccination and a leading pediatric infectious disease specialist and vaccine advocate in the Philippines. She has served as president of the Pediatric Infectious Disease Society of the Philippines and is a fellow of the Philippine Pediatric Society. Internationally, she is a board member of the International Society for Tropical Pediatrics and a member of the Asian Society of Pediatric Infectious Diseases. She plays an important role in public health, having led the Department of Health's National Verification Committee for Measles Elimination, contributing as a board member of the Philippine Coalition Against Tuberculosis, and as part of the Department of Science and Technology's Vaccine Expert Panels for COVID-19. Dr. Gonzalez has been involved in vaccine clinical trials since 2013, co-authored national guidelines on dengue, and published widely on infectious diseases and vaccines. She's also a professor and past associate dean at the UP College of Medicine, where she earned her Doctor of Medicine and her master's degree in clinical epidemiology. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Chet Gonzalez. We're also very fortunate to have another expert, Dr. Jo Janet de la Calzada, who is a highly experienced and well-respected child neurologist specializing in the diagnosis and management of neurological disorders in children. She's a fellow and member of the Philippine Pediatric Society, the Philippine Neurological Association, and the Child Neurology Society of the Philippines, where she currently serves in the Board of Trustees as treasurer. She currently practices in major hospitals in Cebu, including Chonghua Hospital Mandaue, Chonghua Hospital Puente, and Cebu Doctors University Hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jo Janet de la Calzada. And probably the most important resource person we have this morning is the mother of the patient and the star of the video that was shown previously. She's here live to share her experiences with us and to remind us why these discussions matter most. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Miss Marjorie Uro. Marge. Okay, so now we're complete. We're here now to talk about meningitis. We are glad to have you here with us this morning to give light to the different aspects of this disease and to help separate myths from facts when it comes to meningitis. In the era of fake news, dapat siguro fake or fact. So yun po yun ang ating gagawin, i-separate ang fake sa fact. Okay? For everyone's information, this morning session is interactive. So we encourage you, all of you, to participate. You may join our discussion through our online platform, Slido. I'm sure you're familiar with this. Simply scan the QR code flashed using your mobile devices, which will take you to our browser-based platform. We have prepared a few survey questions for you, our audience, for all of us to get a feel of how much we know about meningitis and what we need to clarify so that we may better address the burden of this infectious disease. So, to begin, let's first understand what meningitis is. I would like to ask Dr. Jo Janet, can you help us explain what meningitis is and why everyone, all of us, should be aware of it?
Thank you, Dr. Edwin. So, may buntag, mga higala. So, I'm Dr. Janet, and the question is, what is meningitis? Maybe first, you have to remember, diba, ang brain is literally the hari of the body, sitting on top. No? So, it's a very important organ, and it has many protection, including what we call the meninges, which is a protective covering. So pag yan nag-infect, that's when you get meningitis. It's not easily infected kasi nga maraming protection. So kung pumasok ng meningitis, that means medyo delikado talaga. It has the microbe has invaded a lot of barriers to cause the meningitis. So this is a life-threatening condition and it requires urgent medical attention as you've seen in the video early on. No? So another infection is sepsis. Pag sinabi nating sepsis, the infection naman is coursing through the bloodstream. It's a blood infection. It is also a life-threatening condition. So both of them would warrant immediate attention and treatment. Now, meningitis and sepsis can coexist in the same patient. Ang ano pa dyan is sometimes the symptoms, the signs and symptoms are very similar. No? So, it is important that we are able to recognize. Balikan natin si Mami Marjorie. Ano ba yung na pinagdaanan or na-experience ng baby ninyo?
Nung nagkasakit po siya, mabilis po talaga yung pangyayari do. Nilagnat lang po siya, tapos yun po, nilagnat, tapos sipon-sipon po, tapos yun po, hindi po namin alam na may infection na po pala sa utak at sa dugo po. Yun nga po yung sabi na invasive meningococcal disease po.
Di ba ang bilis? If you review the video, parang fever and then within the hour, nag-convulsion na siya, no? And then wala pang 24 hours, lumabas na yung rash. So, ang bilis talaga. Ang invasive meningococcal disease or meningococcal meningitis is just one of many types of meningitis. Malas lang talaga kasi yun yung nakuha ng anak niya. So, it is important to know the possible presentations of this serious illness. And that's why we are here today, no? We want to increase the awareness, and you are part of the solution to spread the awareness to the rest of the Philippines. So we have this, what we call the meningitis symptom checker. Available naman to online, and you can also scan the QR code. Kasi very simple siya, no? So if you look here, sabi niya, meningitis and sepsis can be deadly. Know the symptoms so you could save someone's life. And if you look at the Roleta, you have there the different symptoms. Now, for example, meningitis, confused, delirious. We will see that in the bigger children. Baka nalilito sila. Siyempre may lagnat, no? Kasi infection. Pareho yan. Pwede mong makita sa sepsis and meningitis. Tapos, pwedeng mabilis ang paghinga. No? Which can be seen in sepsis. In bigger children, we will see headaches, sakit ang ulo, masakit ang leeg, kasi naiirita na nga yung meninges, yung protection ng brain. Yung protection na yan, yung covering na sinasabi natin, it covers not just the brain, pababa yan, papunta sa spinal cord. Kaya naiirita siya kasi namamaga. In younger children, mga babies, yan, tulog ng tulog, very sleepy, difficult to wake up. Tapos, pwede rin silang, rashes, yung nakita natin sa kay Kim, no? Yung anak ni Ma'am Marjorie. And then, may photosensitivity. So, there are other symptoms. Ang isa pang very common, yung convulsion na tinatawag, no? Nag-seizure na ang bata. Hindi lang pala dahil sa lagnat. Yan yung common. Pero pag binurk up na, pag na-admit na, nakikita na natin na, ay nako, may meningitis pala. So, important talaga is recognizing the symptoms. So, as lay people, dapat pag meron tayong mga nakikitang ganito, dalhin na natin agad sa hospital or sa doktor para we can work up or ma-examine siya at ma-check kung kailangan ba siyang i-admit o simpleng kaso lang ba ito. So, who are at risk? Okay? Ang babies, no? Children less than 5 years old are at risk. Actually, everyone is at risk, but more at risk ang mga bata. And then the teenagers and those who are extremes of age, the young and the old. Wala pa ako dun sa super old. Pero yan yung mga extremes, no? In fact, meningitis, in 40% of meningitis, ang mga pasyenteng natatamaan yung less than 5 years old. So yung mga mahina ang immune system, kasi play of factors yan why you get an infection. It's the burden of the infection, marami bang load ng infection, andyan din yung immune system. Yung immune system, di ba, sa bata, mas mahina pa talaga, developing pa siya. And then, yun na.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Ayan. Oh,
Janet,
sorry.
no? I think ang nakuha kong points doon is yung invasive meningococcal disease, of which meningitis is an example, nangyayari po sa mga batang relatively well at healthy, no? At biglaan, no? Yung mga signs and symptoms mo, ang hirap i-distinguish, no? Sabi ni Mami Marge, ubo sipon, lagnat, no? Na napaka-common, no? Sa iba't ibang mga sakit, no? And finally, yung convulsion na may lagnat, hindi po lahat yun benign. Kasi usually sinasabi natin na convulsion dahil sa lagnat. Pero ito, na convulsion at may lagnat, pero napakabilis ng course ng sakit, no? At talagang life-threatening at nagkaroon ng long-term complications. Now, going back to the points raised by Janet, nabanggit po ninyo that children under 5 account for nearly 40% of meningitis deaths worldwide. So, bakit po kaya itong mga ganitong edad ang vulnerable, no? Sa ganitong sakit at sa komplikasyon po ng meningitis?
So, very good question. If you look at the first 1,000 days in a person, it's the first 2-3 years of life, very critical period of development yan. So, when we are born, ito na yung number of brain cells natin. But the brain continues to develop, di ba? So, kaya yung actually, the first 5 years, very critical. Kasi nga, nag-grow pa si brain, nagde-develop pa, nagko-connect pa yung mga brain cells ninyo. Kaya, if something happens, like an insult of infection, it can be devastating. Aside from that, even the immune system is also undergoing development pa. Kaya, this is really the vulnerable population. So, Ma'am Marjorie, ilang taon nga si Kim noon?
9 months old.
9 months, di ba? Very critical time. So, the baby's defense is really immature. Their immune system isn't fully developed. Kaya when there's a life-threatening or serious infection that comes in, there's a risk of mortality or dying. And if they survive, there's also a very high risk of having complications of the disease, no? Yung mga long-term complications natin. Because like I said, diba, the brain is still developing. And then pwedeng maapektuhan yung development dahil nga nagkaroon ng sakit.
So, I think the important point there is that we have to protect the brain, no, of a growing child, especially those under the age of 5, no, because of the reasons Dr. Janet mentioned.
Hi, so, Dr. Edwin, sorry.
Yeah,
can I just share one anecdote?
Yes,
no? Kasi as a neurologist, we do see the patients with meningitis. They're referred to us. We do lose patients, no, from the severe meningitis. And then if they survive, we also see patients who do well, and then we continue to follow up. And we also see the complications. Like, I had a meningitis na baby din siya, parang 2 months old. Na-survive niya, nagpa-follow up, ilang taon na siya ngayon? 16. Nagpa-follow up pa rin siya sa akin kasi may epilepsy siya. She developed seizures after nung bout na yon, no? And then, mahina din siya sa school. So, kaya important talaga ang trying to avoid infections of the brain kasi you are what you are because of your brain and we need to protect them while they're very young. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, so Thank you very much, Doktora, for sharing that story. So, kung yung first 1,000 days po pala, napaka-importante o napakahalagang panahon for the development of a child's brain, pag-usapan po natin, ano ba ang dahilan? No? Ano ba ang sanhi ng meningitis? Bacteria ba yan? O meron pa bang ibang dahilan ng meningitis? Pero bago po yan, let's try to see what our audience thinks about this question. So, kayo naman po ang magpa-participate. So, iscan nyo na ang QR code o kaya i-type nyo ang slido.com at yung number. So, ang tanong po ay, myth or fact? Meningitis is caused only by bacteria. So, sino po ang nagsasabing myth ito? At sino po ang nagsasabing fact ito? O, apat pa lang ang sumagot. Dagdagan nyo pa. Ayan, kita po kung sumasagot kayo o hindi. O, kaya bilang na bilang po. Yan pa sila. So, 10. Hindi po tayo titigil hanggang kayo lahat sumagot. Kaya malamang po bukas tayo matapos. Okay, so, pag tumigil yung music, titigil din po ang bilang. Tama ba yun, Direk? Ako masasabi kong meron. O sige, bukas na lang. Okay, pwede na po, Direk. Okay, so, 19 participated, 84% po ang nagsabing myth, at 14 po ang nagsabing fact. So, alamin natin si expert. Isa pang expert, si Dr. Chet. Doktora, ano po ba ang tamang sagot dito? Myth or fact?
So, actually, majority, nakikita ko nagbabago-bago ba kayo ng isip? Actually, myth siya. So, na-mention na nga that bacteria causes majority of acute meningitis, but there are other causes. So there's no one microorganism. So we have what we call viral meningitis, which is caused by viruses. It can also lead to debilitating complications, but it's not as common as bacterial meningitis. We also have what we call fungal meningitis. It's caused by fungi, but this is more common in those with weak immune systems, like those with HIV, or those who are undergoing immunosuppressive therapy. So, bacterial meningitis. So, bacterial meningitis is the one that is more common. And as mentioned, it can affect even those who have normal immune systems, regardless of age. No? So, it can affect any age. The most common would be 4. So, we have Streptococcus agalactiae, we have Streptococcus pneumoniae, also known as pneumococcus, Haemophilus influenzae, and Neisseria meningitidis or meningococcus. No? So, these bacteria are responsible for more than half of the deaths from meningitis globally and can cause other severe diseases like sepsis and pneumonia. So, it can occur concomitantly. Sepsis, which is an infection of the blood, and pneumonia can occur concomitantly with meningitis or as part of the normal course of meningitis. So, for example, kay Mommy Marjorie in particular, no, na-mention natin na-mention mo niyo po na ang cause ay yung IMD or invasive meningococcal disease. Tama po ba yun?
Yes po, Doc. Nung araw na nilagnat po siya, 1 hour later po nag-seizure na po siya agad. Then, lumabas po yung mga rashes niya. Tapos, nung na-examine na po siya, yun nga po sabi, fatal daw po. Sinabihan po kami na parang 50-50 po siya. Tapos, within 24 to 48 hours po, pwede po siyang mamatay. Yun nga po, yung kung mabubuhay naman daw po, may ano na daw po, hindi na siya totally normal na mabubuhay po.
Okay? So, dito po nakita natin, no, based sa description ni Ma'am Marjorie as a discussion ni Dr. Chet, no, na ang invasive meningococcal disease, no, of which meningitis is one of them, is really fast, no? Happens very fast. It is very fierce. at very furious siya, no? To the point na 50% can die and 1 out of 5 may survive and yet have debilitating complications. So, ngayon po, ang susunod nating tanong is, what can we do about it? No? So, alam na natin kung ano yung sakit. Alam na natin how it can kill or disable. So, ang susunod na tanong po ay, meron po bang lunas o may gamot po ba ang isang sakit na tulad ng meningitis? So again, balik po tayo sa inyo. Sasagot na naman po kayo. Gamitin ang mga cellphone. Balik po tayo sa fake or fact segment. Meningitis is not curable. Ayan. So yan po ang susunod na sasagutin ng mga experts natin at iba-validate ni Ma'am Marjorie. Tatlo pa lang po ang sumagot, no? Sige po. Ayan, sige po. Konti pa. Ayan. Okay, sige, pwede na po yung 18. Nabawasan ng isa, baka nag-CR. Okay, so...
yung code po.
Gusto naman. O naman kayong tumaon ng CR pag fake or fact segment, kailangan kayo dito, no? So, ang sumagot po ng myth ay, ay bumalik kayo nag-CR. O, dalawa pa, tatlo silang nag-CR, no? Kasi 18 kanina, ngayon 21. So, nagsabay-sabay sila at karamihan po ng sumagot ay myth daw po ito. So, Doc Janet, ano po ang tingin ninyong sagot dito? Tama ba sila na ito ay myth?
Fact or fake ba? Marami ngayong fake news. Isa yan sa fake news, no? Na meningitis is not curable. So, for bacterial meningitis, how do we treat them? We really give the appropriate antibiotics and the appropriate supportive treatment. But remember, di ba, sabi nga ni Dr. Gonzalez, marami tayong different types of meningitis. So, important talaga. It's very important for us to determine ano talaga yung type of meningitis the patient is having. So, let's look at some statistics, no? What's happening dito sa Pilipinas. If you look at the statistics, no, for the Philippines, out of 194 countries, number 32 tayo, grabe. Global meningitis ranked by number of cases. Right? And in the region, in the Asian region, ito something, hindi tayo number 1, pero number 2. Number 2 out of 27 Asian countries. This is something that we don't want to have a high rank, but we are, no? Anong number 1? Tinignan namin ni Dr. Gonzalez, India. India, laki-laki ng country, billion ng tao, tayo nasa 117 million insertions lang tayo. Pero number 2 tayo, grabe, no? So, how do we translate that to numbers? So, in 2021, we estimated more than 15,000 cases of meningitis, and we had 1,800 deaths from the meningitis, no? So, pag titingnan natin, parang mga 10-15% yung 1,800. Yan yung parang mortality rate natin from meningitis. So, many actually would survive, but not all will be back to baseline, meaning normal. Like stated earlier, 1 in 5 meningitis will have complications, will survive, but with complications. So if you look at yung quality of life, no? So we have this number, 135,000 disability adjusted years of life. Meaning, this is the number of years of life that we lost because of early death, and we've had 130,000 years of life, no, lost. Kasi remember, di ba, ang 40% of meningitis are in the very young group. That's why we have a lot of years lost, no? Plus 4,600 plus years living with disability. So buhay nga sila, pero meron silang mga disability. Now the disabilities vary. A lot of them will be neurologic, like having epilepsy, learning disability. Minsan baby pa, hindi pa natin alam. Pero nakikita na natin pag nag-aaral na mahina siya sa ganyan. Ganun, no? Some will have hearing defects, no? Nabibingi na sila. And some, like sa case ni Kim, anak ni Ma'am Marjorie, merong mga amputation. So, balikan natin si Ma'am Marjorie. Ano na nga yung na-involve sa amputation at saka ilan po?
Yung dulo po ng toe niya sa paa. Yung toe niya po sa paa, naputol po siya. Kaya, yun po yung, minsan na-out balance po siya. Tapos yung kanang kamay niya naman po, may may malaking tick. Minsan po nanonotice ng mga kalaro niya, kaya natatanong po siya kung anong nangyari po doon. Siyempre po nakakalungkot kasi yun nga po, yung naging epekto sa kanya. Pero thankful pa rin po kami kasi yun lang po yung nangyari sa kanya. Kahit na may mas worse pa po palang pwedeng mangyari sa kanya. Yun.
Thank you, Ma'am Marjorie. No? Mahirap talaga pag-usapan yung pag nangyayari sa anak. No? Na-survive nga niya si invasive meningococcal disease. But she was left with some problems, no? Like the limb amputations. So, we're not really just talking about deaths. We're looking at quality of life taken away from the survivors and their families. So, it is imperative now for us to be aware, to find ways to prevent, and provide early treatment for meningitis.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Janet. Now, if that is the case, is there a way to prevent it, no? Kung napakabilis po ng course ng meningitis or invasive meningococcal disease at napakahirap siyang ma-identify lalo na sa mga unang oras nito, meron bang paraan para ma-prevent ito, Dr. Chet?
Okay, so sabi nga ni Marjorie kanina sa kanyang video, prevention is better than cure, and acting fast saves lives with regards to meningitis. So how do we prevent meningitis and its complications? First is know the symptoms. So recognition, be educated. Let's all be educated on how to recognize the symptoms early. So among the symptoms that was flashed in that tracker, I'd just like to emphasize, siguro, Dr. Joe, that there are 4 that would suggest bacterial meningitis. So fever, headache, neurologic symptoms, ano ba to? Seizure, drowsiness, confusion, siguro late na yung loss of consciousness, no? And the 4th would be neck stiffness, which may be more seen in the older age group, no, sa adults. But yun, be aware and share this knowledge with others. Share it with the community on how to recognize it. And then siguro, yung pinaka-important na stress is that, thing to stress, is that there are vaccines that can prevent meningitis. Since there are many causes for meningitis, of course it will not prevent all types of meningitis. But there are vaccines that can prevent certain types of meningitis. Like for example, we have the Hib vaccines or Haemophilus influenzae vaccines. We have the pneumococcal vaccines. We have the meningococcal vaccines. Now the first 2, the Hib and the pneumococcal vaccines, are actually part of the National Immunization Program. So it's part of the Penta vaccine, no? The meningococcal vaccine, at this time, we have it available, but it's given to certain high-risk individuals. Okay, so the measures that we've said will protect individually. So individual protection, it can also protect the community because you prevent transmission. But on a larger scale, there are also global partners and experts in several countries that have come up and developed this Defeating Meningitis by 2030 Global Roadmap. So this is an initiative that was developed and approved by the World Health Assembly of the World Health Organization in 2020. And the vision is simple, but very powerful, and it is to have a world free of meningitis. So there are 3 goals. The first is to end large bacterial meningitis epidemics. The second is to cut vaccine-preventable meningitis cases by 50% and reduce deaths by 70%. And the third is to improve life for those living with the after effects of meningitis. So the WHO roadmap on defeating meningitis covers all causes, but prioritizes acute bacterial meningitis that is caused by 4, no? The meningococcus, pneumococcus, Haemophilus influenzae, as well as group B streptococcus or Streptococcus agalactiae, which accounts for half of the 250,000 meningitis deaths in 2019, and also can lead to infection of the blood, so sepsis, as well as pneumonia, and are preventable through existing or upcoming vaccines.
So, Doc Chen, you mentioned about the WHO roadmap, no? Ngayon, ang tanong naman sa atin ba dito sa Pilipinas? Nasaan na po ba tayo dito sa roadmap na ito na kailangan po mapababa ng 50% ang mga kaso? Ay, hindi pa ako tapos. Bilis naman. Okay. Death by 70%. Stop epidemics and lower disability rates. O Doc Chet, ano na po ang standing natin dito sa mga parameters na ito?
So, napakita naman ni Dr. Jo yung ating status, di ba? Ano tayo? Fail. Kasi out of 194 countries worldwide, there are 194 countries. Number 32 tayo. And out of the 27 countries in the region, so Asia Pacific yan, number 2 tayo. So these are numbers that we should not be proud of, no? Based on local data, the Department of Health reported that in 2023 there were 5,500, more than 5,500 cases of acute meningitis and encephalitis combined, compared to 3,700 cases in 2022. So this represents a 46% increase, no? As well as they also noted a 30% increase in deaths due to meningitis comparing 2023 to 2022. So in terms of having the goal of having a meningitis-free Philippines by 2030, unfortunately, we do not have a national strategic plan for meningitis at the moment. But there are initiatives. So, for example, the Department of Health is strengthening its surveillance systems, no? So, acute bacterial meningitis, as well as meningococcal diseases are considered notifiable diseases under the Philippine Integrated Disease Surveillance and Response, or PIDSR, as well as the acute meningitis encephalitis syndrome surveillance. So we do have surveillance, and this is important because surveillance is the backbone of public health. And there are efforts by the government, by the DOH, to strengthen our surveillance systems. Okay? However, since of course there are limitations and challenges, we do know that our reports of meningitis are most probably underreported. No? Underreported. There could be more cases, and there is also delays in confirming the diagnosis. Okay. So as I've mentioned already, there are vaccines that are available, and we should do our part to make sure that these are utilized. And I think the key message we want to emphasize is the need to recognize that gaps still exist in our efforts. So addressing something as significant as meningitis requires collaboration across all sectors. So private organizations, advocacy groups, government and patients. So lahat tayo, tulong-tulong. We all have much to gain. So the World Health Organization estimates that defeating meningitis by 2030, so that's their call, could generate more than $100 billion in economic benefits. So beyond the numbers, it would mean reduction in poverty, improving health and well-being, allowing people to stay in school, strengthen the workforce, support independent living, and lessen inequalities across communities and countries. And in addition, the World Health Organization reports that improved prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of bacterial meningitis could save up to $10 billion in direct healthcare costs by 2030. So it just emphasizes how costly it is to treat cases of meningitis. And so any strategy or activity that will prevent or result in reducing the cases of meningitis will be cost effective. So the solution is clear. So what we need to do now is to act. No? So we need action. So overall, to meet the 2030 targets, the country must urgently strengthen prevention, diagnosis, and care systems, particularly in reaching the underserved populations and improving meningitis-related health outcomes. Doc Edwin, back to you.
Talagang bilalik sa akin. No? So at least, Doktora, napaka-faithful niya sa script. Okay. Talagang eyes on the script. Okay. So, actually, Doktora, at least, meron pa palang isang area na walang roadmap bukod sa flood control roadmap, no? At least, no, dahil it's at eye, okay? So, but again, the urgency of this goal cannot be overemphasized. As was mentioned by Doc Chet, 2030 ang target, and we are 2025, and this began 2020. So we're halfway, no, in that pursuit of achieving the goals set by the WHO. To the point of Doc Chet, this truly requires a collective effort from all interested stakeholders. For GSK, as one of the stakeholders in the fight against meningitis, we commit to continuing supporting for patients, physicians, and other stakeholders through our activities. In particular, we have a partnership with the Child Neurology Society of the Philippines and the Philippine Society of Pediatric Gastroenterology, Hepatology, and Nutrition, strengthening the concept that gut health equals brain health. And this is the program called Mind Matters, which highlights proper nutrition and infection prevention for healthy brain development. So, Doktora, kayo ulit.
So, Dr. Edwin, siguro yung stress ko lang no, as healthcare professionals, we consider bacterial meningitis as a medical emergency. It is an emergency, and it is a global public health concern. So apart from the WHO, there are also important efforts from health groups around the world. So it was mentioned by Dr. Rose Capelli in her introduction. She mentioned yung COMO, so Confederation of Meningitis Organizations. So this group is actually the pioneer of World Meningitis Day, and it is a global network of advocates, member organizations, and healthcare professionals. So dito very strong ang patient group sa organization na to, as Dr. Bravo will be able to share later, no? So we also have the Philippine Foundation for Vaccination, or PFV, which is actually the official Philippine member society of COMO. And the mission and the vision of the PFV has always been aligned with the thrust of COMO to save lives and prevent the devastating impact of meningitis since 2009. So the World Meningitis Day, which is celebrated every October 5, is a reminder that progress depends on collective action. We need to act together. This year, you can be part of the movement in 3 meaningful ways, right, Dr. Jo?
Right. So, yeah, that's why you're here, no? Because one way of spreading the information is telling your story. And so we really appreciate Ma'am Marjorie for sharing her personal story about her child, no? Mali pala sa'yo yun. Kasi ang bilis ng akyat, sorry po. Sorry. So one way is for us to speak up to save a life by sharing trusted resources like what we flashed earlier, yung ScanMe. And then we can also use the hashtag World Meningitis Day or Defeat Meningitis to raise awareness and save lives. That's why we invited you today because we need your help to spread awareness. Maka social media, television, even radyo, kasi we need to reach the far-flung area. Sila yung less educated than us, kaya kailangan natin silang turuan. No? Sa society namin, sa CNSP, and our dear President, Dr. Jo Anviato, is here with us as well. We're also trying to do our part to educate the masses, the lay. We're doing our outreach programs, no? Like next week, we are going to do that in Clark, Pampanga. And we've also been actively sharing infographics and hashtags on social media to support the initiative. So I hope you also do the same.
So as was mentioned by Dr. Janet, one way to help advocate, no, the fight against meningitis is to speak up, no, in order to save a life. Another way is to tell your story the way you want it told, sharing your experience to give strength to others and ensure the true impact of meningitis is never ignored. And this is why we are especially grateful today for the presence and bravery of Mommy Marjorie in sharing her story.
And lastly, you can light the road ahead by illuminating a space in your community and sharing your moment online as a show of solidarity and hope for a world free from meningitis. And for today, I believe we have a commitment exercise later.
Yes, Dr. Chet, that's true. We will have one in a few moments. But again, let me take this opportunity to thank you, Dr. Chet, Dr. Janet, and Mommy Marjorie for your insights. Truly, we have learned a lot about this clinical entity that has and continue to affect patients and their families. Despite this, it's comforting to know that there are concrete plans and initiatives in place to address these issues head-on. Allow me to just recap a few important points from our discussion. Today, we talked about meningitis as a life-threatening infection, with about 40% of meningitis mortalities happening in children under 5. An infection like meningitis during the first 1,000 days of a child can cause irreversible harm. Bacterial meningitis can strike suddenly, kill within hours, and lead to lifelong disabilities. To defeat meningitis by 2030, the vision is simple but powerful: a world free of meningitis. The goals are to end large bacterial meningitis epidemics, cut vaccine-preventable meningitis cases by 50% and reduce deaths by 70%, and improve life for those living with the after-effects of meningitis. The Philippine Foundation for Vaccination, COMO, and GSK are working together in pushing to achieve a meningitis-free Philippines by 2030. Finally, Finally, with all that has been going on, including multifaceted efforts and partnerships, I'm encouraged to be part of this advocacy. Beyond the facts and figures, meningitis is also about real families, real children, and real lives changed forever. This morning we opened with a video testimony of Mommy Marge, whose family was affected by invasive meningococcal disease. And now, we would like to invite her for a few words before we end the program. Mom Marge?
Maraming salamat po. Kagaya po ng nakita niyo sa video, malaki po talaga yung naging epekto ng meningitis sa pamumuhay ng anak namin at sa buhay namin po. Kaya sana po wala na pong magulang o pamilya na magsasuffer tulad ng pinagdaanan po namin. Kaya naniniwala po ako na mahalaga po malaman at maiwasan. Kaya magtulungan po tayo. Maraming salamat din po at naging part po ako ng programa ito.
Thank you very much.